The USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
Securities and advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates, Inc., member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. Insurance offered through the Monteverde Group, LLC, not affiliated with Royal Alliance. The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of WWVA Radio or iHeartMedia and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risk, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice.
Now here's your host, Steve Major.
Thank you and welcome everyone. Jason Haswell, the managing director of the Monteverde Group, joins me as always. Let me give you a phone number. You can write it down right now, and then about halfway through, if you want to give us a call, have a question answered by Jason, you can do so. 1-800-624-1170. 1-800-624-1170. And he'll be more than happy to answer your questions, except for leaving the steak out on the counter overnight. I don't know much about that one.
Well, I think we got that answered here.
We got that answer.
Don't do that, yeah.
Let's recap a little bit from last week for folks who perhaps didn't catch the show. We started with the different types of investments to add to the portfolio. So how about a quick recap of that?
Yeah, we wanted to kind of go over, we've been through a few different things about portfolio allocation and your 401ks and things over the past few weeks. So last week we kind of got into the various types of investments for your personal investing, whether it be your IRA or your personal account or your trust or whatever it may be. The various types of investments you can use to allocate your portfolio. Last week we reviewed a bit, talked about ETFs, talked about mutual funds, a little bit about individual stocks and bonds. But I thought maybe we should dedicate a little more time. You know, there's a lot of things out there and people have a lot of questions. So we really didn't get to talk about annuities much. So I wanted to kind of throw that in this week where we talked a little bit about that because there's varying kinds of annuities and things like that, and a lot of people have them. So they've been popular for a number of years. So I thought maybe that would be something we'd like to touch on this week. Basically, with an annuity is and there are varying kinds of annuities. There are fixed annuities, which are very simple. It's where you invest your money into it's an insurance-based product that pays a fixed annuity, pays a set rate of return for a period, a certain period. Might be 5 years, might be 7 years, might be 10 years, might be 20. Depends on what, you want. And there are varying rates on those. Naturally, the longer you go, typically the better the rate. That rate's locked in and guaranteed for a period of time by that insurance company that issues it. And there are a number of companies out there. I mean, there's a million different insurance companies that issue fixed annuities, but they're very, very safe, very, very straightforward. Here's your rate. It's going to be that for a certain period of years. They send you the income or you can reinvest. That's pretty much it. Now, there are variable annuities, which are annuities that are insurance-based. All annuities have an insurance wrapper to them. And a variable annuity is a product where you have the insurance wrapper, so which means you have a death benefit on that product. So if you pass, and say you put $100,000 into this, and the value drops because of the investments, and you have $75,000 at the time of death, with the death benefit or the insurance wrapper, you will get back that full $100,000. As long as you haven't taken a withdrawal. If there's withdrawals, naturally they subtract that out. But inside that variable annuity, you have that guarantee that if you pass, your spouse or your family, whoever your beneficiary is on that annuity, will get, what you put into that. So it eliminates some of that risk. Now you got to die in order to get that. So there's pros and cons. That's a pretty big con. So, but inside that annuity, there are a number of investments that you can invest in. They have a ton of different mutual funds. Some have ETFs. Right inside the annuity. So you diversify yourself like we've spoken about before. You look at that, and whether it be your financial advisor or if you're doing it through your insurance agent or whoever it may be, goes through those investment choices with you, and you create a plan that, what's your balance between stock, bond, alternatives. So you pick from those varying investments, and some of them may have 10 or 20, some of them may have 100. There are some out there that have a ton of different investments inside the variable product. And there are numerous companies that have the products out there that, a lot of people have heard of before. You look at, there's companies like Jackson National, like Pacific Life, Hartford. There's a ton of different companies out there. But so those products you invest in just like you would in a regular portfolio. It grows with the market or whatever your allocation is through those mutual funds or typically through mutual funds. And then you have the insurance wrapper with it where if you pass, you have that death benefit. So you have some protection for your family. Also, what a lot of these variable annuities have added you look over the last, especially probably 10 to 15 years, they now have income riders that you can get a guaranteed source of income off of that product for life. So, and it varies from product to product. It might be 4% with one or 5% with another, but that product is guaranteed through your lifetime to spin off to you 4% a year as income. So your money's growing, but also they're guaranteeing you a way. It's basically it's almost like a pension. So that you know that income, even if that account value drops, they're still going to pay you off what your initial investment was over that period of years. While you grow that asset, they step up that value each year. So that, say you put $100,000 in and the second year it's worth 115. Well, now they're going to base that 4% income stream off. It'll step up on the anniversary date to 4% of 115 instead of 1. Each year it can do that as it grows. So basically what you're doing is if you invest in that is you're increasing your guaranteed income on a yearly basis, which is nice.
Right.
Gives you some peace of mind. For conservative people, it's a little better. Now, again, each investment, as we've talked about before, has some pros and cons. The issues you have with variable annuity is when you add those riders like the income rider and the insurance wrapper, it adds expense to the product. Mm-hmm. So with that, you're going to be paying what they call M&E expense, mortality and expense charge. And what M&E does is basically covers your insurance cost. So that's what it costs you to have that insurance wrapper. If you add the income riders, and there are a bazillion different income riders, and that's one of the problems is they're sometimes a little complex of, how long it lasts and how does it work and how does it step up. So it's good to look at that and see how it works, before you put money in. But each one of those riders that you add, yes, it may add safety, but it also adds expense. So, what we tell clients is, if that's something that you want, we can show it to you, but we're going to show it to you next to other investments so you can see the difference in cost. If you find that protection is a benefit to you and you feel that makes you, as I like to say, you sleep better and you eat better, it may be worth the cost. But if it's not something that really has a huge benefit to you, I would really consider not doing it because you don't want to add that expense if you feel that, it's not something that has a big benefit for you.
Real quick, let me give the phone number again. If somebody would like to call and ask you about all that you've just told us, 1-800-624-1170. This is, as you said, a very complex subject. Annuities, there's so many to choose from.
A lot of moving parts.
So the guy comes in to your firm and said, look, I don't have a clue. Mm-hmm. How do you help him?
I mean, what we typically would do is, now our formula, we do, naturally we've used annuities in the past, and we use them if they're appropriate for the client, and it's something, like I said, it's something that they want. Some people want that protection, and they're happy to pay for it. But
I'm talking about the guy that really isn't schooled on something like this.
Sure.
And is a novice when it comes to annuities or whatever.
Yeah.
He's at your mercy.
Well, yeah, and what we typically do is we sit down and, like I think I've mentioned in some previous shows, is we're going to do a plan for everybody. We're going to ask them what the wants, needs, all that. What's your risk tolerance? Where do you want to go with this money? What's it going to do for you? What's the goal? And according to that, we will make a recommendation. And some people, if somebody comes in and says, hey, I want market performance, I want to be there, I get it, it's going to grow my asset over the long term, but I need a buffer. What do I do to get that? I need some protection. Okay. Then an annuity may be appropriate. But what we'll often do is kind of sit down and we'll run a proposal on maybe a regular allocated portfolio using, like I've spoken about in some other shows, ETFs, individual stocks, mutual funds, whatever it may be. And we'll show them that versus the annuity. And show them, okay, here's the difference between the two. The one, you don't have protection. On the annuity, you do. But here's what you're paying for it. So here's your total cost in for one without the protection. Here's your cost in with it. And basically what it comes down to then is the client has to make a choice. Is that protection, is that peace of mind worth paying the price? So the portfolio and how we allocate it's going to be similar in either product because you're using similar things, whether it be inside the annuity or outside the annuity. What it comes down to in the end is the expense, worth that peace of mind? For some people it is, for other people it isn't. And, it just depends on the client. And that's kind of where you can just show them each side of the coin and say, hey, here's what you're getting for each one. Here's what you're looking at. But here's the expense for that. Is that benefit worth the cost in the end?
There are people who perhaps will steer away from annuities and go in some other direction.
Correct. Absolutely.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing at all. And it just depends. There are a lot of myths about annuities out there. There are a lot of things that people think are in them that aren't. They're there's a lot of parts to these. So you want to make sure you see, okay, how does my rider work? How does my death benefit work? Why do I have that, that protection? And there are some people that absolutely love the fact that, they know their family will be taken care of. The market, so to speak, goes to hell in a handbasket.
Right.
They got that protection on the backside. If they pass, they know their wife, their kid, their grandkids are going to get what they put in no matter what. But there are other people, especially people who have a little more market experience, that just don't need that. They say, hey, I know the market's going to go up and down, but over the long term, it's done well. If you look back 70 years, the average performance has been good. I know we're going to have an up and down year, have some volatility, but I'm not willing to pay that expense because I think if I stay in the market and I have a good plan and like we've talked about before, diversified well, allocated well, I'll be okay. Just depends on the person.
Sure. All right. Again, 1-800-624-1170. We're going to take a quick break and come back. And during that break, if you would like to call and have Jason answer a question, he'll be glad to talk to you. So we'll be right back right after the break. Stay with us.
Trust is beautiful, intangible, and invaluable. In relationships, trust is earned. It is the knowledge that you can completely rely on someone who puts your well-being and best interests first. At the Monteverdi Group, we earn our clients' trust by helping them create a plan that can allow them to reach greater financial heights. Wealth management for today, financial independence for tomorrow. Call Jason Haswell at the Monteverdi Group, helping clients grow, manage, and preserve wealth.
This report is brought to you by Walgreens.
News Radio 1170 WWVA. Severe Weather Team 9 forecast.
The cool down continues in the forecast today. Look for a mix of sun and clouds with a light breeze and a chilly high of 63. Clear and cool tonight, down to 40. We wake up with some patchy morning fog. Sunday it will lift to sunshine with a high near 68. I'm Severe Weather Team 9 meteorologist Stephanie Allison.
The Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer is the top choice of doctors, nurses, and other health professionals nationwide. It can be yours too. Now at your local Club Warehouse and other fine retailers today.
Exergen is caring for your family.
iHeartRadio is the easy-to-use app for music and radio. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Refreshing your news feed at the top and bottom of the hour and posting opinions the rest of the time. News Radio 1170 WWVA.
You're listening to Dollars and Cents with Jason Haswell. Jason, this week, of course, most of the attention has been on Puerto Rico and the relief efforts there, but also a lot of attention has been focused on the new tax reform.
Yes.
I'll let you run with that one.
Yeah, there's again, this might be what we call the moving parts show. I mean, when you talk about a lot of moving parts. The Tax Reform Act, basically what they're trying to do, the main focus it looks to be is they're going to drop the rate that corporate tax, which would be pass-throughs, LLCs, S corps, C corps. These are things that most small business people use for their business. So a lot of these people are small mom and pop businesses, like what we see here in the Valley, been around for years. We get, they're looking to drop that tax down to around 20%. I think that's going to be a negotiation. It might end up at 25. It might end up at 15. Who knows? I'm guessing it'll be higher. But the other thing they're looking to do, they're trying to simplify the tax. I mean, everybody that's done their own taxes knows. I mean, it's nuts. The books have grown every year. It's more and more complex. So what they're looking to do is take 7 tax brackets, drop it into 3. So they make it a bit simpler. They're looking to basically eliminate some of the deductions itemized deductions that people take. They're going to raise the standard deduction for the average person, which is good. They are going to keep some of those itemized deductions are going to be eliminated, but they're going to keep the ones I think that have the most benefit, to the people, which is the mortgage deduction. Almost everybody uses the mortgage deduction, and charitable donations. So, naturally with the charitable, they don't want to penalize nonprofits, by giving the deduction. So they're basically looking, to do that. So they're basically trying to simplify the tax situation. Now they're saying that this is going to it's going to cut taxes by about $6 trillion. The problem is, and where you have a big argument on this, is where is that money going to come from to pay for what we already are paying for?
All right, hold on, because we got a couple of calls. We'll continue with this because I want to find out who you think this new tax reform really will benefit.
Sure.
All right. Walter is our first caller, so let's pick up the phone and hear from Walter. Good morning, Walter. What's your question this morning?
Hi, Steve. Hi, Jason.
How you doing?
Good. Hey, I just first of all wanted to say that, I really have been enjoying this show. I'm probably a little naive in the financial end of things, and I'm just starting out on trying to get some things accomplished in that regards. And this has really been a big help starting my education process and so on and so forth. So I'm really glad that you all decided to do this show. I think it's really a good service to everyone on obviously probably one of the most important matters you deal with in your life.
Hey, we appreciate that. That's why we're here, just to provide you with some knowledge, some advice. So thank you very much for the comment.
I have a question for you, Jason, and then I'll just go ahead and hang up and listen. But where, if it's almost a bit overwhelming listening every week with so many different subjects you touched on that are important. If you're someone like me, late 20s, that just trying to get started now and building a financial future for myself, what would be the best thing to do is perhaps maybe give you a call and just come in for a consultation maybe and talk about it a little bit and give you my situation, and then just kind of start from there, building a foundation as you may see fit?
Yeah, great question, Walter. Yes, that's exactly what I would recommend you do is, if you have questions or the things you're looking to do, just come in and we can sit down and talk to you about, the different options that you have to invest, what your budget is, what, your current situation is, how we can help you. And we do not only investments, we also have an insurance division, so we can review that for you. So basically what we would want you to do, come in, we'll do a holistic plan, talk to you about how to get started, how to get things moving, and answer any questions that you have. That's the easiest way is call us, set up an appointment, and we can just, start you from there. So that's the best way, I think, to handle things.
All right. Walter said he was just going to listen to your answer. All right. Ann is also now on the line, so let's open it up to Ann. Good morning, Ann. What's your question this morning?
Good morning. I have an annuity, and I was wondering if I would move it to your company. Is it easy? And would I have to pay a penalty with the annuity company I'm with now?
Okay. Thank you. It's a good question. Basically, with an annuity, there is a set period of time. This may be something that I didn't mention before, so I apologize. each annuity has a set period of time you're going to be locked into that, and a lot of them are 7 years. Some of them are 10, and unfortunately there are some that are 15 and 20. We don't typically recommend you want to lock things up that long. But if you're out of surrender, you can change annuities if you choose to. A lot of times you don't really need to do that. You can just do a reallocation, so we can help you with that. We can become rep of record on an annuity for you, where we help manage that annuity for you over the longer term. We just sit down and do a review with you on the annuity and help you reallocate into assets or whatever. But it's a very simple process. As long as you don't remove the money from an annuity product, what they call a 1035 exchange, or if it's an IRA, you can move that product, then you won't have a tax consequence. So we can help you, if you come in and you're in a decent product, but maybe you just don't know how to allocate it properly, we can absolutely help you manage that and take over as the rep of record.
Okay, so I think both Walter and Ann have their questions answered. And quite frankly, the bottom line is give the Monteverde Group a call. Go in and sit down, talk with them and say, what's best? What should I do? What should I not do? Sure. And you go from there.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you both, Walter and Ann, for your calls this morning. Back to the tax reform. I think many people feel that it still is going to help the wealthy and not the so-called middle-income guy. I mean, where does that stand?
I mean, the one thing, we were talking before the show a little bit about this, Steve, is it does help. Most small businesses are middle-class people. And so it does, if you have the pass-through, it's going to help you as a middle-class small business owner. And a lot of the people in this town get it. They're middle-class people living a normal life, so it would benefit them. I don't see a huge benefit for the middle class in this reform. I mean, just
the guy that's going to his job every day,
earning a salary, busting his hump,
right,
going out and doing what he's laying brick or whatever. I don't see a lot of benefit there, because basically what they're doing is, it benefits them in the fact that it makes it simpler. That you don't have, 40 different versions of what you need to do for an itemized deduction and this and that. They're talking about maybe eliminating the alternative minimum tax, which has been one of the most confusing things ever. And going to 3 tax brackets, 12, 25, 35 instead of the 7 they currently. So that does simplify. So, that would probably help everybody.
That's not going to go on the back of a postal stamp like the president said. It's going to take a little more paperwork than that.
I would think so, yes. But I honestly, a lot of very wealthy use these pass-throughs to put businesses in, or they have several different investments or real estate. So it's going to benefit the higher income. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And I don't see a lot in this. I will say this: raising the standard deduction is going to benefit the middle class guy. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
Because a lot of people don't have a lot of itemized deductions. So if they raise that standard deduction, you're going to get a bigger deduction right off the top. That's a good thing for the average guy walking up and down the street. Yeah. So I think that will. But overall, I mean, it's not bad. I think it's going to be simpler. I think overall you'll probably pay a little less in the end. I mean, this is going to be, they're saying it's going to cost about $6 trillion in tax. I don't quite know if we're taking $6 trillion out of the tax coffers. What are we going to use to pay for certain things? Where is that going to come from? My opinion on this is if you cut taxes, you got to cut spending. Mm-hmm. And they say this will create enough revenue through increased GDP, gross domestic product, that additional revenue and capital spending by the businesses will pump the economy up enough that it will replace that $6 trillion through, a number of different areas. I'm a big believer, I think when you do your balance sheets at home, it's pretty easy to see. If you cut what you're spending, it's going to affect the bottom line a lot more. And what we're trying to do is basically say we're going to have less money coming in, but we're going to keep spending the same amount. That
doesn't work.
With my arithmetic, I mean, I'm a Marshall County guy. I went to John Marshall. So what they told me was if I'm spending the same amount and bringing in less money, you're going to have some problems with a deficit at some point. So I think that may be an issue going forward. And I think I think the middle class would agree with that.
Is this going to be tweaked, you think, the reform somewhat before it becomes law, so to speak?
I think tweak doesn't quite cut. This is going to be bantered and negotiated and beaten around.
Right.
I mean, this is kind of there's been other plans. This one kind of looks a little better because they did involve both parties in this last piece that came out last week a little more. So you do have more participation. But in the end, as we know in Washington, there's going to be things attached, things removed. There's going to be negotiation. It's going to take a bit of time, I think, to get this done. And, there's not, some of the sentiment in Washington right now is, become a bit anti-Trump. And I think you'll get some blowback just from the fact that, the parties are kind of at each other's throats. So as Congress has done for the last 8-9 years, nothing. No. So unfortunately, I think we may have a bit more of that. Hopefully they can come together and do what's best for the country. All
right. Let me give you another phone number. This is the phone number of the Monteverde Group, 304-905-0641. If you would like to set up an appointment, if you want some questions answered, if you're not really sure which fork in the road to take, they can certainly help you. 304-905-0641. They're located in the Wagner Building, 2001 Main Street, and in Suite 402. I'm sure they'd be glad to hear from you. And, of course, we will be back again next Saturday morning.
Yes, sir.
10 o'clock. We don't have a Mountaineer game to watch today.
No,
but we'll find something.
I think we can manage to find something.
All right, Jason, as always, good to talk to you. Good to see you.
Thank you,
folks.
Steve.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you again next Saturday.